Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
A 15-year-old boy killed his father on Valentine's Day in 2023. There was no disputing who did it, although the circumstances of it were murky because no eyewitnesses saw what happened or knew why. Collin Griffith was living with his father in Lincoln County, Oklahoma at the time he shot him, once in the chest and once in the head. The teenager claimed his dad cornered him in his bedroom with a knife, so Collin alleged he shot his dad in self-defense. Collin said he wanted an attorney when police officers tried to interview him, according to the Lincoln County News. His mother paid the $50,000 bond to get him released from custody. Collin was charged with first-degree murder, but the charge was dropped less than a month later. Authorities said they couldn't disprove his self-defense assertion. Some states have open records laws, so it's easy for journalists and for the public to get information on crimes. Other states don't. Oklahoma is one of them. The records are shrouded in secrecy. A spokesman from the Oklahoma State Bureau of Inspection, which is the state's law enforcement agency, told us, per state statute, we do not provide records or documentation regarding our investigations. And so not charged with any kind of wrongdoing, Collin left Oklahoma and went to live with his mother in Florida. 18 months later, she was dead.
You're going to hear that he was there as he watched the blood and the life drain from her body until she took her final breath and was officially dead.
This is Jillian in partnership with Law and Crime. You are listening to Court Junkie. "39-year-old Kathy Griffith had been stabbed in the neck. And with circumstances that seemed to be eerily similar to what happened in Oklahoma, Collin Griffith was once again charged with first-degree murder in addition to kidnapping. He was charged as an adult. He pleaded not guilty, utilizing the same defense strategy as he did before with his dad. Collin said he killed his mom, Kathy, in self-defense. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd didn't buy it. He called it cold-blooded murder.
It all started on September the 8th, which was this last Sunday, when we got a 911 call from Collin Griffith, who's 17 years of age. And here's what he said. He said he and his mother had a very long fight, and she fell on a knife and killed herself. And she's bleeding from the neck. He didn't say she killed herself, said he's bleeding from the neck.
Here's a clip from that 911 call.
She's bleeding out. Please help. Your mom is doing what? My mom's bleeding out. She's bleeding out. Help is being sent, okay? Medical help is being sent. She's bleeding out. Where is she bleeding from, sir? She's bleeding from the neck, man. This is my mother. I'm trying to catch it. Are you with the patient now? I'm with her. Yes, I'm with her now. How old is the patient? She's 39 years old. She has a heart condition. She has a. Is she awake? No, she's unconscious. She's not okay. Is she breathing? No, she's not.
Sheriff Judd gave a press conference on September 11th, 2024.
When the deputies arrived, he met the deputies outside, and he was calm, cool, collected, not upset, and he had blood on him. What we found inside was this knife. This knife is 12 inches long, and of the 12 inches, 8 inches of that is the blade. So he's saying that his mother fell on this knife. We started our investigation at that point. The next morning at the medical examiner's office and the autopsy, the medical examiner said it is not reasonable or plausible that she died the way that he said she did. Just didn't happen.
Sheriff Judd put a picture of Collin on the podium during the press conference. Collin wore glasses. He was tall. He looked like any ordinary high schooler.
When you look at this, you see a kid. When I look at him, I see a psychopath. I see totally erratic behavior to the point that he's already, at 17 years of age, shot and killed his father and got away with it, and stabbed his mother in the neck so hard that the knife went all the way through and was to the back of her neck. And she died there.
A jury would soon hear about the chaotic lives of Collin's mom and dad when Collin's murder trial for killing his mom began in Florida in early 2025. When the trial started, jurors were not fully aware of Collin's past. They were told Collin had killed someone in Oklahoma, but they didn't know the victim was his father. The victim's identity was not allowed to be brought up at trial. With both of his parents now dead, would 17-year-old Collin be held accountable for his mom's death? Or would jurors believe his self-defense claim? One of Collin Griffith's biggest offenders might have surprised the jury. It was his grandma, Susan Detman. Susan was Kathy's mother. At Collin's trial, Susan testified for the defense in support of her grandson. The prosecution would even say,
Ma'am, it sounds like you're really quick to try to throw dirt on your dead daughter. Would you agree with that?
No, not at all. My dead daughter did the best that she could. We have a problem in this country with addressing mental health. We all know that. And that's what she had. She had mental health issues.
Instead of going in chronological order with this trial, I'm going to start with Susan's testimony. Because through her testimony, the jury heard a lot about Kathy Griffith's life. Kathy did not come from a happy, healthy family. There was a long, troubled history that occurred from generation to generation, from Kathy's parents' divorce to her own divorce. The family tree was full of estrangement between family members, anger, accusations, and then moments of reuniting and going on trips together. According to Susan's testimony, Kathy was angry. She routinely tested the people she loved. At times, she was violent and destructive. At the age of 13, Kathy got pregnant. Susan didn't say how old Kathy's boyfriend was at the time. Kathy then ran away from the Hope House with her boyfriend and was found in a hotel. She and her boyfriend later had their first son. Kathy's dad called her damaged goods. He didn't want to speak to his daughter again. Clearly, Kathy and her father did not have a good relationship growing up. Susan testified that at one point, Kathy accused her father of raping her. Susan claimed Kathy had a history of lying and said she doubted Kathy's sexual abuse allegations against her father were true.
And how do you know that that's not true?
It went to court, so I don't know.
Did she ever tell you that she had made it up?
Oh, yes. Later, as an adult, she told me she had made that up.
Did she say why she made it up?
Yes, because she was mad at the situation between Robert and I.
Kathy eventually married her boyfriend. the one who got her pregnant when she was 13. They later had another son, Collin. Kathy's husband and the boy's dad reportedly became abusive. Kathy worked as an English teacher for several years. Many of her students loved her, and she loved them back. One of her students even moved in with her, although prosecutors implied that something happened between Kathy's husband and the minor. Kathy and her husband eventually divorced. Susan testified that Kathy attempted to kill herself about a half dozen times as she went through the divorce, and as she struggled with mental health and substance abuse. And so Collin went to live with his dad in Oklahoma. He lived there for 3 years. After he killed his father, in what he says was self-defense, he then went to live with Kathy. Being home with his mom was at first a happy reunion. Susan's ex-husband, Robert Willantis, Kathy's father and Collin's grandpa, testified at Collin's trial.
All right, now, Mr. Lantis, when the defendant moved back to Florida to live with Kathy, was Kathy happy about that?
She was thrilled.
Now, during the time period when, since then, when he moved back to Florida and lived with her, did she try to make up for lost time?
She did.
And what were some of the activities that she and your grandson would do?
They had to catch up on 3 years of school. Collin was 3 years behind. And then they also caught up on the 4th year. So he got 4 years of education done in a single year. That's a huge accomplishment. They went to Australia, Central America, the Caribbean.
But the mother-son's joyful reconnection was short-lived. Several witnesses, from family members to law enforcement officials and neighbors, testified about Collin's physical aggressiveness and visceral anger towards his mom. It's worth noting Susan stepped in to help as Kathy and Collin's relationship broke down. Susan and Kathy both shared custody of Collin, so they were both legally allowed to make decisions for him. A judge had signed off on their custody agreement. And amid the high stress in the family, Collin's grandfather, Robert, had talks with him in order to be supportive. During one of those phone calls, about 4 months before Kathy's death, Collin said something disturbing.
Did it appear that the defendant trusted you and would talk to you and confide in you about certain things, grandfather, grandson topics?
Yes.
Did there come a time when the defendant said something to you that was very disturbing to you?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what the defendant said to you.
My grandson was very aggravated at his grandmother and his mother. He said, "I am so tired of these two bitches. I'm disgusted." He said, "My mom, I keep thinking over and over, I want to slit her throat. I want her to bleed out. I want to smell the blood. I want to feel the blood. I want to feel the life and the blood leaving her body."
Now, when he said that, what went through your mind?
I needed to take a deep breath and do what I could to discourage that thought, because thoughts become words, words become actions.
What did you say to him in response?
I said, "Collin, I love you, buddy, but you can't have those kinds of thoughts and focus on them and then speak them, because you will cause them to become reality. Please think positive things about your mom, about yourself, and about a good future together."
Now, at any point, did you warn your daughter about what the defendant was wanting to do to her?
I did, but I did not use the exact words because there was so much malice.
He testified that he told her a cleaned-up version. Kathy's response was that Collin had been threatening both her and Susan with killing them. She said she still wanted him in the house, though, and wanted to continue with their relationship. Lacey Zanoniani was a Charlotte County detective who had a rather unique assignment of working with families. She provided resources to parents and worked with kids who might be at-risk youth, runaways, or on probation. Collin Griffith was put on her caseload in September 2023. She was aware of the family's troubles. She testified about Kathy and Collin's dynamic. She said sometimes Kathy was too soft on her son, but sometimes Collin would get very angry when Kathy would take away video games. He regularly talked about hurting her.
From those many months that you interacted with the family, was it clear to you that she loved Collin and wanted him to be around her?
Yes.
Did she understand the danger to her life having the defendant around her?
Yes.
Did she know that he had explicitly said he would kill her?
Yes, she made a comment to me that she was willing to accept her faith if that gave her more time with her son.
Meaning she was willing to die die at the hands of the defendant as long as she had more time to spend with him?
Yes.
Now, getting to know the family a little bit, did you become aware that there were also good times between the defendant and his mom?
Yes, the family frequently went on vacations, such as Disney cruises. They went on multiple cruises together and other family trips.
Would they both tell you about going to the movies or having movie passes to be able to go to the movies together?
They thoroughly enjoyed going to the movies together.
Whatever flaws Kathy might have had, was she trying to be a good mom?
I believe at the time she was doing her best, yes.
From your observations over that many-month period, did the defendant have respect for his mom and her rules?
No.
On cross, the defense dove deeper into Kathy's well-documented past, like her previous run-ins with the law, the times DCF was brought in, and all the lies Kathy told.
So you became aware of some prior involvement that Kathy had with DCF, right?
Yes.
And it's fair to say that in most, if not all of those prior DCF involvements, it involved Kathy being violent or aggressive towards other family members.
Yes.
And many of her actions that caused DCF to become involved were committed in front of her children.
Most of them that I recall, yes.
And in fact, her kids were taken away from her, were sheltered from her at times, correct?
I don't recall those specifics, but...
Would it surprise you?
No.
And you're also aware that Kathy had been arrested before?
Yes.
Specifically for an incident that involved her stabbing her then husband in front of 10-year-old Collin.
Yes.
And also, there were other instances where Kathy committed violence upon her then husband in front of the children.
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware of the car pinning incident, which I call it, where she drives her car and pins her then husband to the house with her car still running. He can't escape, right?
Yes.
And her older son, Christopher, had to go and yell and beat on the car and tried to get a baseball bat to break through the windows to finally get his mom to release her then husband from...
I don't recall those very specifics, but I do recall minor details of the report, yes.
She agreed that the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office responded a lot to Kathy's home, although she couldn't recall specific details of each incident. Collin's attorney brought up one time in which Kathy claimed that her then-husband's paramour had strangled Kathy and that she had video proof of it. But the footage actually showed Kathy strangling herself. Detective Zanoniani said she didn't recall.
Would you say that Kathy, in your interactions with her, definitely wanted things to go her way, or she was not going to have it?
Yes.
Okay. So sort of her way or the highway.
Yes.
It's also fair to say that she really, really, really wanted Collin to stay with her.
Yes.
She knew that Collin did not want to live with her, correct?
Yes.
She knew that he had said he didn't feel safe with her, right?
Yes.
And she still wanted him there at all costs.
Yes.
Even despite the things that you all told her he said.
Yes.
Detective Zinoniani was asked whether she believed it was a good idea to let Collin and Kathy live together.
We did everything we could as far as intervention purposes, working alongside of our mental health unit and with DCF, and that was the decision that was made.
Who made it?
DCF returned him back to his home. We had resources we could implement in the time being to help guide them. I can't speak on who made it specifically.
No, but your personal opinion?
I'm confident that we did everything we could. I don't know that I feel comfortable giving my personal opinion.
If it had been your decision, you would not have allowed them to live together, correct? Correct. For both of their safety?
Yes.
Including Collin's safety from what Kathy might do to him?
Both.
Yes. And sort of along that same vein, Kathy, in just the year that you knew her, was suicidal several times.
There were several suicide incidences, yes.
So when you say instances, it's not just her saying she's suicidal. She actually attempted suicide several times that you are personally aware of.
Yes.
So overdosing on oxycodone, for instance.
Yes.
Mixing it with alcohol.
Yes.
Are you aware of a time when she had a gun in her hand but had become so incoherent from the pills that she luckily didn't?
Yes.
Detective Zinoniani testified that when she first became involved with Collin and Kathy in September 2023, she spoke with Collin about why the sheriff's office got involved.
And he told you that time that his mom had pulled a gun on him, right?
Yes.
And that she had pointed at him and threatened to shoot him?
Yes.
Or herself, or both?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he gave you a lot of details about what all she said to him.
He gave a lot of details to the initial responding deputies who took the report, who would have had everything. I followed up the next day for intervention purposes, not mainly focusing on that, but figuring out how we can help them moving forward.
And, I mean, what he said happened is not unfathomable given Kathy's past, right?
No.
And you're aware that Kathy actually had a gun in her home at that time?
Based on the information of the initial call, it was assumed there was a gun in the home, but she denied it being in there. There was no way for us to prove if it was in the home or not.
But you found out later that there had been a gun in the home, right?
Several months later, yes.
Yeah. And so she lied to you about that?
Yes.
And she convinced everybody that she had never done such a thing, right?
Yes.
Are you aware that she actually admitted to her own mother that she had pulled a gun on Collin?
No.
She agreed that when she first became involved with Collin and Kathy, Collin was in a mental health facility, and that Kathy wasn't being cooperative with the efforts that everyone was making to make sure both she and Collin would be safe.
So, for instance, she wouldn't sign medical release forms for people to be able to communicate about Collin's treatment if any was needed.
That's correct.
And when Charlotte Behavioral Health Center wanted her permission to try some different medications with Collin, she refused, right?
Yes.
And at that point, he was only 16, right?
Yes.
So she had to make those decisions for him.
Yes.
And in fact, she was so desperate to have Collin back with her despite everything that happened, that she hired a lawyer to get him released from Charlotte Behavioral Health, right?
Yes.
And that actually happened.
Yes.
But Collin kept saying, I don't feel safe going home. I'm afraid of what she might do to me and then what I'll do in response.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay.
Detective Sinoniani said Collin actually got placed into a facility called Sandy Pines, which is a residential facility that has a 60 to 90-day program designed to get the maximum benefits. Kathy checked him out of Sandy Pines after just 3 days, against everyone's advice.
Are you aware of any other times when Kathy made false allegations?
I mean, she made false allegations on multiple occasions, but unless you ask specifically, I don't recall.
Okay.
Like, what are you referring to?
No, it's okay. I think you've given the jury a good idea of how trustworthy she was, which is not very, correct?
At times, no.
Would you say that she was erratic in your experience with her?
I would say she was very undecisive.
So erratic is not a word you'd use. Well, what about the kicking Collin out and then turning around and calling him a runaway because she kicked him out? That's pretty erratic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and she did that more than once, right?
Yes.
Including when she knew she had kicked him out and he was with Susan.
Yes.
She'd
Yes.
call him a runaway and...
Yes.
Would you say she was unpredictable?
Yes.
How about manipulative?
Yes.
She manipulated you or tried to manipulate you and other law enforcement officers, right?
I believe they both were, yes.
She agreed that Collin made comments to her that he would rather be in jail, stay in a psychiatric facility, or be in foster care than with his mom.
And that's because he felt unsafe with her?
That is because he felt unsafe and they just did not get along.
Right.
They didn't agree or respect each other.
On redirect, the prosecutor brought up the abuse that Kathy had endured in her life. Then there was this exchange.
The defense described her as unpredictable. Is that correct?
Yes.
But what was predictable was her love for her son and her wanting her son to be with her, correct?
Yes.
And she was cognizant of the fact that probably as soon as he turned 18, he was going to say, see you later, and basically
Yes.
ignore her.
Yes.
It was mentioned that she was manipulative. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was the defendant manipulative?
Yes.
Who did the defendant show respect to?
His
What-
grandma.
Okay. And what set of people?
Of higher authority, people who had a lot of money.
Would he respect people that would do things for him or who could do things for him?
Yes.
Like buy him things and do things like that?
Yes.
Charlotte County Deputy Carrie Welch testified more about the incidents that occurred in September 2023 when the sheriff's office got involved. This was a year prior to Kathy's death. As Collin was getting released from a crisis behavioral center, he made it very clear he didn't want to go back home. As you heard before, he said he didn't feel safe with his mom. But he again said something troubling to Deputy Welch.
And those several statements that he made about harming his mom and grandmother, what specifically did he say?
He specifically said that he had, or something along the lines of that he had done it before and that he would do it again, and said that he would either push them out of a car, stab them, or shoot them.
Were you concerned when he said this?
Absolutely.
As a result of that, what did you do?
I placed him under a Baker Act for protective custody and sent him back to the facility.
Collin was Baker Acted, which in Florida is when a person is put in an involuntary hold for mental health reasons for 72 hours. It occurs when authorities consider you to be a threat to yourself or someone else. The jury also learned about another incident that happened in 2023, months before Kathy's death. Collin had been arrested for domestic violence after another incident with his mom. Collin claimed his mom punched him, and then he said he threw her off of him. On November 14th, 2023, the day he was released from jail, Collin said again that he didn't want to go home. He didn't feel safe. He said he would kill his mom if he had to get into the car with her. Charlotte County Deputy Christopher Ellis went to the home afterwards to check in. The jury watched a clip from his body camera.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Is Collin home?
Yeah, you guys can come on in. He's doing standing marches. He's not a happy camper right now. You can pick your marching bells down.
What's up, man? What are you doing?
He's doing standing marches as a form of discipline ever since he got home.
Collin was doing forced exercises. He was holding 2 weights over his head while doing standing marches. As you heard, Kathy told the officers that she was having him do those as a form of discipline.
Is that working?
I mean, he beat the shit out of me last night, so.
Collin could also be heard on the body cam.
So what's going on, man?
Last night, me and my mom got into a physical altercation. I got arrested for domestic battery, but when it comes to judge today, I have a right to public defender, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So how is the situation with you and Mom right now? Things calm down?
No,
you guys
no,
get along? Where are we at?
No, sir, it's not good. She thinks that I do shut her. I don't. She thinks that I'm like psychotic, like literally psychopath, sociopath, something like that. I don't know exactly where she's at. She thinks I'm going to kill her. I want to kill her. That I want to beat the shit out of her.
Do you?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anyone, let alone my mom, even despite this happening. But I'm not going to take what I consider abuse when someone's attacking me. And
how is she attacking you?
When she attacked me. When she threw a punch at me and grabbed on me, I grabbed onto her back. I got her off of me. She hit the ground. And then I fled and called Rentis, and then he sent someone out.
You called who?
Rentis, Detective Rentis.
Okay. So basically what we came back is when the jail was releasing you to your mom this morning, was there anything said then?
Yeah, I said that I didn't really feel safe there with myself and with her. And that I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen.
As far as what?
Her attacking me or her doing something to herself or me.
Okay, what about you doing something to her? Are you able to control yourself?
I'm in a constant state of fight or flight, and I don't know. If I think she's going to do something, even if she's not, I might act. I'm not going to go crazy or anything, but I'm not sure, honestly.
Susan Detman, Collin's grandmother, testified about Collin's life back in Florida after he had come to live with them following the death of his dad. She said Collin was shuffled around from his mom's house to her house as tensions once again ran high and Collin was at odds with his mom. She said he came to live with her after Kathy finally threw him out of her house and said she didn't want to see him again. Susan purchased him a cell phone.
Do you remember there being a period in January of 2024 where where Collin was with you for several weeks and Kathy didn't remember that he had gone with you?
Yes.
And do you know what was going on with Kathy at that time?
She was suicidal, taking pills. She just didn't want to have her life. She was drinking excessively. She drank Everclear as her alcohol of choice.
Okay, Ms. Detman, just answer the questions, okay?
Under his grandmother's watch, Collin finished his last year of high school, early. He enrolled in college. The jury heard Susan testify about living in a double-wide trailer and not having internet, while going into debt after treating Collin and Kathy to extravagant luxuries like cruises and a trip to Disneyland.
Have you ever personally witnessed Kathy engage in a physical act of violence towards Collin?
I know that there was a fight at the house in Port Charlotte, and The fight started because she was beating him with a belt and making him do push-ups, push-ups, and then holding a weight above his head while he was running in place.
Okay. When you say that she beat him with a belt, were you actually there for
Yes,
that?
I was, and I tried to stop it.
Right. What about, are you aware that Kathy pulled a gun on Collin?
Yes, and then later she said that originally she denied it, then she said yes. She pulled out the gun and handed it to Collin and said, just kill me, shoot me.
So she actually admitted that to you?
Yes.
Despite all of this, did you still love Kathy?
Yes, very much, very much. I always wanted to help her.
It appears that Kathy at times wanted Collin with her at all costs, and then at other times wanted nothing to do with him.
Yes, when she had Collin back for about a month, she spoke with me and she said, Mom, I have to get up every morning at 6 o'clock, take him to school, and then I have to go back and pick him up. And I said, you don't have to. Let him ride the bus.
Susan testified that just before Kathy's death, she worried about what would happen if Collin and Kathy were left alone together.
I didn't want her to start a fight with Collin. I was afraid that she would be combative, maybe go after him with a baseball bat, a gun, something.
Then came cross-examination.
Today here in court in front of the jury, you've talked about that you were concerned that Kathy was going to attack your grandson, and then you listed a bunch of different weapons. But weren't you more concerned that your grandson, who had killed someone before and had been violent countless times with your daughter, weren't you concerned that he was the one that was going to attack your daughter?
No. He had not been violent countless times with Kathy. Kathy had been violent with him countless times.
Now, a lot of the things you've said here today, you never bothered to tell me or law enforcement or anyone.
Objection. Judge, it's improper impeachment.
Ms. Detman, as it pertains to your grandson, do you talk to him a lot on the phone since he's been in jail?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do any emailing with him?
I don't email with him while he's in jail. No.
Do you
Just
prefer
talking
to
on the phone.
talk with him?
Yes.
All right. And how many times a week would you say that you talk to your grandson on the phone?
I usually talk to him 3 times. I encourage him to pray. I ask him if he's eating. I mean, I'm a dietitian, that's what I do. That he's drinking his milk, that he's exercising in his cell, and most important, that he's reading books. And I keep telling him, you have got to pray. You have got to read your Bible.
Now, I mean, this is an obvious question, but you love your grandson, correct?
Yes.
Your daughter is dead, clearly.
Yes.
And she's not coming back, correct?
No.
Now, would you agree that you don't want to see the defendant have to go to prison for a very long time? Is that correct?
I don't want to see my grandson go to prison for something he didn't do.
It was almost as if Kathy Griffith was actually testifying at trial. The jury heard recordings from some of her phone calls, or at least Kathy's side of them. The calls had been made on the last day of her life, September 8th, 2024, and were recorded on her security camera. First, Kathy called her mother, Susan.
I'm not speaking to you anymore. Either my son is in my driveway at 10 a.m. or we're not talking anymore. Okay, that's fine. You don't want to talk to me? That's fine. Bye.
Then she called Collin's work.
Hi, this is Collin Griffith. I'm actually Collin Griffith's mom. I was just calling to confirm, did Collin quit yesterday? Collin Griffith, yeah. When he called in, I know he didn't show up to work yesterday. Did he quit yesterday as well? I just need to know. Is there a way to find out for me? This is his mom, because he hasn't come home. So we're trying to find him.
In another call, she told someone, Collin is missing. He hasn't been home for 24 hours.
And that's the problem. He's had it turned on Do Not Disturb. He called me at 7:32 this morning and talked to me for 56 seconds and told me I was a crazy psychotic bitch and he wasn't leaving and that he was going to stay there with Mama and that that's not a violation of his probation. I sent him a picture. Like, if he's sending you all these things, did he send you the pink picture that I sent to him that shows specifically, like, the pink sheet of paper they gave me that says he can leave the county to go visit his grandma? But it doesn't say he can leave the county to go visit his grandma. And that's what he thinks it means. And he thinks it means without my permission, he can just leave and go and do that.
Kathy also talked about Collin's violent video games.
And you know what he's been doing all day while he's at your house? Because it's showing up every time he takes a screenshot of it on his iPad account. He's playing video games, killing people. And I send those screenshots to you. So tell me how he's better off at your house where he's killing people, pretend, and making fun of it, and kidnapping them, and having them tied to little chairs while he tortures them and kills them with other people in this little game scenario that he has. I sent you pictures of the screenshots.
Here's another call.
Listen to me. I'm going to be there before you. So it's going to go down before you even get there. I don't know what to tell you. I guess you can call Collin and tell him to run or try to run because I'm coming up there. I'm getting the car. The car is sold. He can either get in the car with me and come back home or he can call me. And then you better tell him that he needs to give me a goddamn phone call in 10 minutes. He has 10 minutes. Because he's answering your calls. He's not answering mine. He's answering Lacey's. Not answering mine. He has me blocked.
Kathy tried calling Collin again.
I am just calling you because I know you talked to Detective Lacey. She told you that you needed to be home today, and apparently you said, no, you're not coming home. And so I guess you were explaining the situation, and that if you don't come home, you are going to be charged with violating your probation. So I'm just warning you, I am on my way to you to pick you up because you're not allowed to stay away from me like this. You're not allowed to be at Mama's house, and I have every right to come and pick you up. So I'm coming to pick you up.
The text messages the family was sending back and forth on September 7th and September 8th also provided a motive, according to prosecutors.
Did you come across, or did one of your expert computer crimes detectives come across a text message of note that was brought to your attention about an additional motive that the defendant had to kill his mom?
Yes.
Tell the jury just briefly, how did that come to your attention?
So early morning on the 9th of September, I received a phone call from our computer crimes detective who was going through the download and explained to me they found an interesting text message that I needed to be aware of.
Detective Danny Peters read a text message that Kathy sent to Collin that was discovered during the murder investigation. Kathy vowed to sell the car Collin was using and also claimed she had evidence on her Ring camera of Collin confessing to murdering his father. Remember, the jury wasn't allowed to know who Collin had previously killed, so Collin's dad's identity is redacted in this next clip.
Begins, the car isn't there, not sure what you did, but it's being sold as we speak to CarMax for $15,600. Unless you'd like to reply to my text and tell me you're driving home right now, period. Didn't think so. It's a felony to drive a stolen car without insurance. And if you wreck it, that's it. How much are you going to lose before you stop, Collin? ? I feel like you were trying to make me like your dad by talking away privileges, but you violated your probation, violated the rules of the house, and now you won't answer me. My mom or the cops, you've left me with no choice. Collin, the recordings of you admitting to killing blank and planning the murder, there are 4 different instances from my Ring camera, are all going to Bob, Susie, Amanda, and Chris at 3 p.m. today. Plus the recovered audio from ... blank's iCloud where you told your blank you hated me and I was an evil bitch are being sent to. My dad is sending his recordings of you telling him how you planned my murder back in February. Audio, video, email, text, and phone recordings are being sent. For the record, no, you cannot have a single one. Your attorney can request them. Good luck hiring a good one.
In the quiet Hamptons mobile home park for seniors, Sally Bell was getting ready to go to Sunday evening church. It was September 8th, 2024. About 4:45 p.m., she watched the clock, since church began at 5:30. From out her window, she noticed her neighbor, Kathy Griffith, loading clothes into her car under the carport. Collin stood by the driver's side. Kathy's arms were flailing and she was talking. Sally couldn't make out what she was saying.
When she and the defendant were talking, did it look like it was an animated or a heated conversation?
Arguing from one side. I didn't see him say anything. I just heard her. And she went around and she put the clothes on the passenger side, and then she was talking and her hands were going. I couldn't hear what she was saying. And she went around the back of the car, up close to him, and she was swinging her arms again, and he reached. And she says, I heard her say, let go of my hair, you're hurting me.
When she said, let go of my hair, you're hurting me, was she doing anything violent to him?
She was swinging her arms and talking to him. And she was right up in his face, was talking to him. And then he reached out and to grab her hair. She said, let go of my hair, you're hurting me. And he reached up and opened the door, and they went inside, pulled her inside.
After witnessing that, Sally left for church, continuing about her Sunday routine like normal. About 2 hours later, just before 7 p.m., she tried to come back home, but the neighborhood was barricaded off by police who were investigating the murder of Kathy Griffith. Sally's testimony was key to the prosecution's kidnapping charge. When she walked into the house, Polk County Sheriff's forensic investigator Brandy Bange noticed an AirPod in the mulch. It was like following a trail. Next, she saw the blood on the step of the house. Another AirPod inside. Then the AirPod case. Finally, the knife. The murder weapon. Then the victim. Lying in the kitchen was Kathy Griffith. She had a deep wound in her neck. The knife had gone through one side of her neck and out the other side. She had bruises, too. The sheriff's office owned a crime scene trailer, essentially an RV where they could process evidence, get fingerprints, and take photographs. That is where investigator Bange first met Collin. Kathy had been dead for several hours at this point.
How would you describe his demeanor?
He was emotionless.
Emotionless?
Yes.
Did that change at all while you interacted with him?
No.
Did that surprise you?
Objection, relevance.
Now, to start of the jury, what was your interaction with the defendant like? What did you do?
So I obtained some blood swabs that were on him. He had some blood on him. I obtained fingernail swabbings from him, and I obtained buccal swabs from him.
Starting with, where were the visible parts of his body and or clothing that you saw blood?
So he had blood on his ear, on the right ear, on the right arm of his glasses, like right here. He had blood on his fingernails. He had blood on his shoes and some apparent blood on his shorts.
Collin's face was blank, according to investigator Bange's testimony. But the jury also listened to the full 911 call that Collin made, where by the end, he appeared to break down. It was an emotional call. Collin was allowed to leave the courtroom while it was played in front of the jury. Closing arguments began on February 4th, 2025. Assistant State Attorney Mark Levine went first.
Ladies and gentlemen, the brutality and the carnage that Collin Griffith unloaded on his mom on September 8th of 2024 is as real as it gets. Based upon the facts and the evidence, the defendant sits there, a guilty person who stabbed his own mother in the neck and then watched her bleed out in front of him. The lady that brought him into this world here on earth, he took out of this world and this earth. But see, at the end of this, he has to watch you come back through those doors. And he has to stand and he has to listen to the verdict. And that verdict is out of my control. It's out of their control. It is 100% in your control. And I have faith and confidence based upon what you heard and saw that you will do the right thing and you will hold him accountable for the fury he unleashed on his mom.
He said on the day Kathy died, she had just one objective that cost her her life. He said she just wanted to spend some more time with her son. He reminded the jury that Collin had already killed somebody else before Kathy's death.
He had already killed somebody in Oklahoma, and she knew what was going to happen to her. But despite that, all that she wanted was every single minute she could have with her son. Well, she got to spend the last seconds of her life with her son as he watched on, as she gushed blood out of her open, gaping wound. The death was not instantaneous. She bled internally. She bled externally. She was fighting to get up. You see her arm finally comes underneath the island. And there comes a certain point, ladies and gentlemen, where that last drop of blood came out of her, where she took her last breath and she died and left this earth knowing that her son butchered her.
Prosecutor Levine argued that despite what the jury heard, Kathy was a good mom who tried her best, while her son called her an evil bitch.
That has just so much malice and hatred, once again, to the lady that was trying to do everything she could. I mean, God, we saw Ring videos. She's cleaning all the time. She's doing laundry. She makes sure that his house is stocked with food. She has clean clothes for him. He has his own room. He has his own Xbox, computers, cell phone. She's giving him the credit card to go to Starbucks to buy sandwiches and drinks, taking him to the movies, anything and everything to make him happy. And you know what kind of thanks she got.
As for Collin's self-defense claims, Prosecutor Levine pointed to the testimony of neighbor Sally Bell, who had witnessed Collin pulling his mom's hair and forcing her into the mobile home just hours before she was found dead.
And she said, stop, you're hurting me, let go. This is his mom begging and pleading for her own son to stop pulling her hair. Who does that? He does that, and he did it. So what happens? Who's doing violence to who? I ask you that. Who is being violent to who? The mom is not being violent in any way, shape, or form to her son. She is doing nothing to him. Nothing to him. But good old Collin Griffith grabs his mom and he yanks her, he pulls her, he drags her. Who cares what verb you want to use? The point of the story is that he pulled her and dragged her into the house. She didn't have a choice because her hair was being pulled and her head and her body was being dragged into the house. Why did the defendant do that? Because he was about to unleash and quench his bloodlust for his mom.
Prosecutor Levine ended by telling the jury to find Collin guilty. Then it was time for Assistant Public Defender Amy Thornhill to address the jury for her closing arguments.
It sure seems like the state would like you to focus on the emotion and the drama rather than on the actual facts. You can't ignore the facts in this case. What's your job as jurors? It's to decide whether the state has proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Collin kidnapped and murdered his mother, and that her death was not excusable or justified. That's your job.
One by one, she went through the prosecution's witnesses. She argued that Collin's grandfather, Robert, wasn't close with Kathy or Collin. She questioned his credibility and tried to throw doubt that a phone conversation between Collin and his grandpa ever happened in the first place. Robert hadn't even been invited to Kathy's funeral, she said. That's how estranged he was from the rest of the family. Then she addressed the testimony of Sally, the neighbor.
So what did the state present to try to convince you that there was a kidnapping? They presented the witnesses, the neighbors, Sally Bell and Nancy K. Jones. Both of them are neighbors of Susan's. You've seen the photos of where they lived. And you heard them say that Kathy was the one being aggressive right when she arrived. She whipped the car out of the driveway to pull it up against the curb or the grass. She slammed her car door. She slung her backpack over her back, and she marched up to the door and went inside. Went inside that house of her own accord. When she comes back out of the house, she's throwing things into Collin's car. And you can see in the photo of the interior of his car, there's clothes thrown in the back and there's his computer and his phone on the front seat. And she's yelling and gesturing and stomping around. And then she goes back up to where Collin is standing in the doorway. Because remember, neither of those witnesses told you he was ever anywhere other than in the doorway. Not in the mulch where an AirPod was found, but in the doorway around the corner. So Kathy comes up to him. She's making a scene, obviously a scene that's loud enough, noticeable enough that the neighbors are looking to see what's going on. She's already drawn their notice. And as she's on the carport floor and Collin's standing in the doorway and she's still gesturing, he puts his hand, and the witnesses differ, on her neck area, on her shoulder, by her ponytail, and they said pulled her inside. Not dragged, not grabbed her by the ponytail, more like, and this is something you can decide, more like an ushering, like, oh crap, you're causing a scene, like Kathy can, seeing it in the state's own evidence. Let's bring this inside so that we don't get the wrath of the neighbors up or cause attention to be drawn even more to our argument. That's a more reasonable interpretation of those facts. It's reasonable to interpret that Collin was embarrassed by his mom and didn't want to air their dirty laundry in the carport. Now, she did say, "Let go, you're hurting me." Okay? That's a fact. That she said that is not in dispute. But you can't just accept a statement by anyone, but let alone by Kathy, at face value. Okay? So she claims, "You're hurting me, let go." Does she pull away from him? Nope. Witnesses never said anything about that. Did she try and stay at the bottom of the steps where she was gesturing at him? No, the witnesses didn't say that. They said that her feet actually moved up the steps. That indicates a willingness to go inside. That's a reasonable interpretation of what those witnesses told you. Did she say, "I don't want to go back inside"? No. Did she grab onto Collin in some way to get him to let go of her? No. Did it even look like she was actually being hurt? Don't you think, isn't it reasonable that if Sally Bell or Nancy K. Jones thought that Kathy was actually being harmed in any way whatsoever, that they wouldn't have either called 911? Kay Jones would have called Susan because, remember, she was house sitting. She was aware that Collin was allowed to be there, that he had arrived the day before, his car hadn't moved. So she's sort of keeping an eye on the house. If either of them thought that Kathy was actually being harmed or being forced to do something against her will, don't you think, as the good neighbors that they were, they would have alerted someone?
She said there was no kidnapping, period. As for the felony murder count, she said the jury would have to find beyond a reasonable doubt that Collin kidnapped Kathy and that during that kidnapping, he caused her death.
I've already told you all the reasons why I think the state has utterly failed to prove a kidnapping. But even if you did find that, because I don't want to presume that you're going to find anything. I'm here to make suggestions, not to tell you how to do your job, like the prosecutor was trying to do. That hour and 15 minutes between when the neighbor saw Collin usher his mother inside as she's making a scene and when he called 911 distraught, you would have to believe that Collin forced Kathy to stay in that house that entire hour and 15 minutes and was inflicting some bodily harm or terrorizing her that whole time. That's not reasonable.
She said everything the jury heard about Kathy was corroborated by police reports, DCF reports, or by witnesses, like Susan.
I was not presenting those to you to just bash Kathy, to make her look like a horrible person. To the contrary, I was doing my job because the law says, and the judge will tell you, that you have to consider prior acts of violence, prior acts of aggression, a reputation for dangerous and violent behavior in deciding whether Collin was reasonable in defending himself against his mom on September 8th.
She said Collin knew his mom made up allegations to hurt others, like when she called DCF on her brother or when she lied that she had been strangled, even though she had actually been the one hurting herself. She told the jury that Collin might have been disrespectful to his mom, but that doesn't make him a murderer. She added that Collin reported feeling unsafe around his mom multiple times, but that no one listened.
Collin was trying to escape his mom because he was scared. He was scared of what she would do to him, and if she attacked him, what he would do in response. Remember, he ends up Baker acted because he begins the litany of times that he said, I don't feel safe with my mom. I'm afraid what she'll do to me. I'm afraid if she pulls a gun on me again, I'll have to defend myself. If she does those things that we now know she did, I will defend myself. You even saw him on body-worn camera footage telling the officers that. If she does this to me again, if she punches me, if she attacks me, I will defend myself. I'm afraid I don't feel safe at home.
She questioned the possible motive the prosecution had suggested, that Collin had murdered Kathy after she threatened to release ring videos containing a confession in the Oklahoma killing.
Given what you know about Kathy, given the fact that no one's seen any ring videos of any such nature, and given the fact that Collin has never been charged with anything in Oklahoma, and given the fact that her deadline of 3 p.m. when she was going to supposedly send these to all these people had long passed before she got to Collin, isn't it reasonable to think this is just another thing that she made up? Because if those things existed, they'd be out there. They would have been in front of you. And don't you think Collin knew that that was an empty threat? Knew that no such recordings existed? So this big motive that the state wants you to believe in, also BS.
Then she presented a theory of her own.
Isn't it also reasonable that Kathy knew what the outcome was going to be when she picked up a knife and threatened Collin with it? You've heard of suicide by cop? Isn't it reasonable to think that Kathy committed suicide by son? She had never been able to successfully commit suicide before, despite her many attempts. Isn't it reasonable that she pulled a knife on Collin, knowing that if she attacked him, that he would defend himself, and that the end result might be that she died? I'm not saying that that's what was in her mind, because we don't know what was in her mind. I'm saying that it's a reasonable possibility given everything you know about her.
She said Kathy had no foreign DNA underneath her fingernails, which proved she pulled the knife on Collin first. The defense also tried to downplay the crime. Collin wasn't enraged at his mother. He hadn't stabbed her repeatedly. She just had one stab wound in her neck. Gravity could have played a role in how the knife plunged through. And all the blood got on Collin because he was doing CPR after calling 911.
The state has proved nothing of significance beyond a reasonable doubt to you, except that Collin and his mom had a very disturbed relationship. And also perhaps that they never should have been living together.
In her final remarks, Thornhill invoked a circus metaphor to argue that it was self-defense. Kathy was the lion, and Collin was the zookeeper, forced to go into the cage even as he begged those around him to keep him out. Eventually, the lion was going to attack, she said. After the closing arguments, the jury went back to deliberate. It took them about 11 hours to deliver their verdict on the kidnapping and murder charges.
State of Florida versus Collin Griffith. We, the jury, find as follows. As to the defendant in this case, the defendant, as to count one, the defendant is not guilty. As to count two, the defendant is not guilty. So say will, this 5th day of February, 2025.
Collin appeared to take a deep breath, give a small smile, and then hugged his defense attorneys as he heard that he was, once again, free. Is that the end of this story? We shall see. In 2024, Florida Sheriff Grady Judd criticized Oklahoma's investigation into Collin after his dad's death. Sheriff Judd questioned whether a proper probe had been done, since he said the murder charge was dropped so quickly. Before Collin's trial began in Florida, Sheriff Judd said his office had spoken to the district attorney in Oklahoma and had promised to send any information to them that might help them reopen the case involving Collin's dad. When we reached out to Adam Panter, the DA there, for comment recently to get an update, he did not respond. And that's all for this episode. This episode was researched and written by Gabrielle Rusin. To join the conversation, follow us on Instagram @CourtJunkie. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.